in yet another video game series that is turning a mighty 25 this year, and that would be the Hammerin Harry series. This quirky little game came out for the arcades first, and then it was ported to the NES, and the NES one and the arcade one, while they look drastically different, they're the same thing, so I'm just going to go through the old Nintendo route here. So the first game, Hammerin Harry, of course, it's it's a series of games about this construction worker, and he's just battling these goons, I don't know if they're like mafia or just like terrible construction workers out to make a profit of evilness. But his construction world is destroyed, so he's off to basically thug these goons with this giant hammer. And he's one of those stereotypical Japanese construction workers with like the old robe and like the thing tied around his head. I'm not quite sure what that's called, but if you've watched anime or played video games, I'm sure you've seen someone dressed up like in this traditional kind of old school garb. But and then he has this like giant cartoony mallet of which he uses to destroy his enemies, which is the funniest way for me to say it. It's this guy destroying his enemies with this giant cartoon mallet. Through the levels you get like upgrades for that level specifically. Like you can get a hard hat so you can take more damage, or you can make your hammer even more oversized and crazy. And this proceeds throughout all of the video games in this series. Like the second one for the Super Nintendo, it's more cartoony, it's more kind of chibi-fied, which is, for those who don't know, it's like an anime way to make everything kind of cutesy and kind of blown out and like disproportioned, just to make it like, again, cutesy, kawaii, whatever. And not much has changed. He's still battling stuff. He builds a new home for somebody, and the missile destroys it, which is pretty funny. And goes out through his adventures. It's hard not to keep a straight face, just because it's like just a one-ish kind of series. It's also very unforgiving, because unless you have some of those upgrades like the hard hat, you will take one damage and die. So it's not really good about checkpoints either. It even gets even weirder. I'm telling you, the other game is a Game Boy game where he's basically fighting ghosts and people in like hockey masks, so that's makes me believe it's like Jason. This one is, the others are just weird. It's just a guy smashing people with a mallet, and that's kind of wacky. And, oh no, bombs are going off and destroying homes. But to make him go to ghost form, that's even like just like jumping the shark even further. But he's battling ghosts. It's mostly the same. He doesn't really have any powers, which would have been cool to give this construction worker weird powers. That would really give it an edge, if you will. But it's just, him, again, trying to conquer evil. And then the latest iteration, and there hasn't been anything since, was a PSP game. And I should mention that all of these games primarily are Japanese only. Thankfully, there has been like fan translations and the likes, but pretty much if you want to play any of these games, yeah, you gotta go to Japan. Anyway, this last game came out for the PSP, and it's fun. It's more of the same. Again, a mob boss is threatening our quirky little hero, and he's out to stomp the day. It's not a series that, perhaps there's a reason why it's stopped. The wacky construction worker can only go so far if you're just gonna have him go through stages and fight things. It's unfortunate that maybe it didn't evolve, or maybe past these levels it did evolve. But every game kind of starts off in the same typical way, and it'd be nice to see it come back, maybe as like a downloadable PlayStation game or something like that, or give it to an indie studio and see what they can do with it, or maybe make it into a different genre, maybe make it into a Metroidvania, maybe we're going through a whole building stuff, or maybe you just like make it balls all crazy with the ghost stuff again. I don't know. Suffice to say, it is a very cool series. It's cool, it's quirky, you should definitely play one of these games, and again, happy anniversary to Hammerin Harry.